Hello my friends, my name is Tim Johnson. In this video today I want to share 5 little tips with you for keeping it simple. The phrase keep it simple has been bandied around in addiction recovery for many years, way back to the beginning of AA, and keep it simple was always a mantra, just as one day at a time is. The video today has been inspired. Someone sent me an email, and this gentleman is struggling with his early sobriety. He sees no end, he sees no future basically. He sees the task of staying sober very, very daunting, and it's filling him with fear, and he's unhappy. He feels he'll never get to feeling better, and this is really common in early sobriety. I've felt it myself many times. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. You have to retrain yourself, reprogram yourself, recreate yourself. These things don't happen overnight. But the most important thing of all in early sobriety is obviously not to take a drink or a drug or engage in any behavior which was compulsive before, which is an addiction basically. So keep it simple. What does it mean and how do you do it? It's an easy thing to just bandy around, keep it simple. But keeping it simple works in every area of your life, really, even if you're not an addict. I remember setting up a restaurant, and the menu was probably one of the most successful menus I've ever produced. It was extremely busy. The quality and the standard of the food we produced was excellent. And the reason for that was because we kept it simple. We didn't overcomplicate it. It was basic stuff that we all could do well and eventually could do with our eyes shut to a very high standard. Consequently, the product that was delivered to the customer was always very, very good, very well received. As soon as the company that took over started to overcomplicate that menu and add things to it, everything went to pot. And this works in every area of our lives, really. When you first get sober, there's a massive euphoria around that, a pink cloud, they call it. And you're keen to become that different person, that person that you always wanted to be, the best version of yourself. You want it to happen overnight. But there's many, many weeks, often years of hard work ahead of you, really. And it's constant work on yourself. And the phrase, keep it simple and one day at a time, do apply. And the first of the tips I'm going to give you is to compartmentalize things. And what I mean by that is breaking things down into small tasks. Initially, when you first get sober, it's really important not to set yourself goals that are not achievable, because it's very demoralizing. So the goals have to be small and progressive each day, and then when you're confident of a week or so of doing those, then you start adding to them, those original goals, and, add a little bit more each time till eventually you're constantly moving forward and getting stronger. But compartmentalizing complicated tasks as well and taking them in bite-sized chunks rather than trying to take on too much. Because when an addict has a brain full of junk, if you like, can't cope, it's very dangerous. You tend to go backwards and relapse because you just can't cope, so then you take a drink or a drug or engage in behavior just to relieve yourself of that stress. Because the damage you've done to your brain with chemicals, it means the brain is constantly in a sort of fight or flight mode, basically. It's highly stressed and it's trying to recover and it's trying to heal. So if you're trying to take on too much and overcomplicate your life, then it can jump into this fight or flight mode, and before you know it, you can be in trouble, basically. So try and break things down and just be kind to yourself, just achieve what you can achieve. I mean, God, sometimes it's difficult. I know it's easy for me to say. I've been there, I've brought up small children with my wife, and ran a busy business while we're trying to do that, and paid for mortgages and had bad things happen and this, that and the other. Life will always happen around you, but try not to let it overwhelm you, if you like. You know, just be kind to yourself. Do what you can do, the best you can do, basically, but compartmentalize it. I can't say that word, sorry. And you'll find life takes on a much slower, more simple pace. And don't try and grab onto too much during early recovery, because you can't run before you can walk. You know, you've just got to take baby steps initially and learn to start living as a normal human being to start with. And that might mean just having a shower and doing your teeth and making your bed, you know, and keeping it simple that way. You know, it's really important. The second thing is to show up. And what I mean by that is that because of this fight or flight mode, addicts in particular have become, during their addiction, extremely unreliable. They've never shown up to life, never shown up for their families, never faced anything really without a drink or a drug inside of you. And to show up means to face your fear, basically. You might be frightened to death of asking for help. You might be frightened to death of attending a meeting. You might be frightened to death of facing a certain task or doing something, or, you know, seeing people that perhaps you've hurt during your addiction and apologising to, whatever it is. But you've just got to learn to start showing up for life. And to do that initially, get yourself into a daily routine of, and again, I'll hark back to the first one, you know, it starts with looking after your personal hygiene. It starts with looking after your clothes and making sure they're ironed, and your appearance. It starts with all that, those simple things. Showing up, it means you're showing up for life, and, you know, not just sort of showing up for your job or whatever, you know, although that's obviously part of it. But it's learning to face your fears, because the addict's mind can create all sorts of horrible scenarios that are going to happen, when in fact nothing does happen. It's generally your own mind playing tricks on you, which is why I said in the previous video, the mind's a liar. You have to listen to your gut, and you know what's right and you know what's wrong, and you know when you need to show up. The third one is stay in reality, and that's linked to the last one I've just talked about. And that means that you try and stay in the present moment. Now, I know a lot of you will switch off with this, because, you know, it's all, you know, stay in the day, stay in the moment is another mantra, isn't it? One day at a time, you know, take each moment as it comes. But staying in reality is the only way you're going to really get sober. Because if you start looking too far into the future, then it will seem daunting. You will be demotivated. You will think that you won't succeed. The thing you need to do is look at it in, again, going back to compartmentalizing. Staying sober for 10 minutes is the goal. If you stayed sober for 10 minutes, then you can stay sober for an hour. Then you can stay sober for the next hour. And it literally is like that in the first weeks of sobriety, until you achieve 24 hours, one day at a time, as they say. And you're staying in that moment, that daily routine, that staying sober just for today. You know, and all these things are cliched, aren't they? You know, you hear these phrases, but they're there for a reason, because they work. And if you listen to them and listen to the meaning behind them, you'll find they'll be a great help in strengthening your early sobriety. And the next thing is to do the next right thing, and that's linked to that one, because it'll make you feel good about yourself. If in those 10 minutes you're in that moment, you can see and you feel in your gut that what you're going to say to someone, or have said to someone, or what action you're going to do next is the wrong action, then you can feel that in your gut, so don't do it. And if you stay in the moment, as in number 3, you know, you can recognize these times. You know, you can apologize to someone if you've said the wrong thing. If someone needs help, you can see it because you're awake and in that moment, and you can give them help, you can give service. You can express gratitude in the moment as well. You know, all these things will build on your sobriety. But doing the right thing is extremely important, because as addicts, it's very rare that we ever did the right thing. You know, we thought perhaps, we were sane, but we were totally insane and unmanageable, and life was chaos. And we were causing devastation, harm and hurt to all those around us, lying to them, cheating them, letting them down constantly, not just to our loved ones, but to people around us, our employers, everybody basically. You know, it's a whirlwind. But we very rarely did the right thing, and we harboured resentments, and we were angry all the time. And, you know, if you stay in that moment and go 10 minutes at a time, you can see where the mistakes are coming. And if someone says something, you know, you have to let it go. It's really important. And for me, it's only been this last 2 months, really, although I had long sobriety before that, that I've really let go and surrendered, basically, to the fact that I can't control anything, basically. Thoughts and actions, perhaps, but even them, sometimes they're influenced by outside influences. And also I've surrendered to the fact that I can never take another alcoholic drink or a drug, because if I do, then within a day, my life is unmanageable, chaos ensues, and I hurt people. You know, for me, it's about staying sober for not just me, but for all those around me that I affect. And I watch my actions, I watch my words, and I let go of control. If someone says something that would in the past cause a resentment or anger, I let that go, because that's their issue. And that's hard sometimes, it really is in life. But it's something you have to learn to do for your own sanity and your own peace of mind and happiness. And finally, the number 5 is something that never be ashamed of, is asking for help. Ask for help. Now, obviously, AA might not suit all of you out there, but all I will say about that is, if you go and give it a try, then you will find people there who you immediately relate to. You find people there whose experiences and whose aura even calms you. And you will learn things there that you can never learn in any book about addiction, or from real people and real experience. And plus there's a fellowship which is amazing. You know, and what I said in a couple of videos before about, you know, what puts a lot of people off about the higher power thing, it's your own perception of that. And no one in any meeting that I've ever attended to has preached or mentioned God or this. It's a God of your understanding, basically. You know, and that could be anything from a tree, a plant, a universe, Buddha, God, you know, God as a religion, whatever it is. You know, it's really easy, and it just is accepted, and that's it. It's a fantastic place. But obviously, if you don't want to go there and or CA or NA or any of those, then asking for help from other people is nothing to be ashamed about. It's a sign of great strength. And in early sobriety, you need that help and guidance. And sometimes when life is overcomplicated and you find it really difficult to keep it simple, then talking to someone else and asking for some advice, whoever it may be, is often a solution. And the solution will present itself, or they'll present a solution very quickly. It's very difficult, you know, it's not an easy task. And I read, I get sent a lot of emails, but I also read in some of the groups I'm in, and I hear in meetings I go to and all the rest of it, people who are demoralised in early sobriety and end up relapsing because they don't keep it simple and they look too far into the future, and things don't happen overnight. You know, life doesn't suddenly magically get better. You have to work hard for it. And it's much easier to do that as a sober person than it is as a drunk or a drug addict or whatever compulsive behaviour you were engaged in. With a clear mind and a clear head, you're useful to everyone around you, even in a crisis and when bad things happen. And when bad things happen, Remember those 3 words, life goes on, which it does, and it's a miracle, and it's a privilege to be here. And once you start getting your head around all that, and start practicing gratitude every day as well as keeping it simple, you'll find that magically all of a sudden things start in your life to unravel and things start to get better. You know, and I certainly, in the last 2 months, I've certainly found a peace and a tranquility and an acceptance, if you like, of my situation that I've never found before. So, you know, it's taken me a lot of years, but eventually it happens, you know, and hopefully it'll happen a lot quicker for you. And life is great, and it's just going to get better and better, and I trust in that. Anyway, Carpe Diem, I hope that's been of some use to you. Seize the day. Take care of yourselves. Keep it simple. Much love to you. Bye-bye.